Hello and welcome everyone for my latest video. Today what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at all the cards from the new Phyrexia set, all will be one, that I expect will be good for specifically competitive play. So if you're watching this because you want some Commander content, I'm afraid this video is not for you. And if you're new to the channel, the reason why I'm doing this is that I'm a very known player. I pretty much play Infect everywhere where it's legal. I'm best known for playing Infect in Legacy since 2016, getting multiple tournament results. But recently I've started branching out to Modern as well, as you've maybe seen on my channel. So I figured that this would be an ideal moment to look at the cards and see which upgrades we might have gotten for the new set. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at some cards that I think that have the most potential, and I'm going to discuss them for the formats where I think they might see play. I'm going to discuss Legacy, Modern, and yes, Pioneer as well, because I think that with these new cards, we may see Pioneer Infect. I don't know if I should call it Infect in Pioneer, maybe Toxic in Pioneer. We'll see what name it gets. I'm going to give them a rating, and I'm going to do this by color and in alphabetical order. So there's no like a stance where I think the first card is going to be the best one. I'm just going to go through them alphabetically. And I'll talk through them why I think they're good, and let's see where we end up. So, first one, here we go. Bloated Contaminator, 4/4 trample for 3 mana, one of which being a green, toxic 1, and when it deals damage to a player, proliferate. This card's very strong. The thing is that a 3 mana giving you a 4/4 with trample is already pretty damn good. However, it basically has toxic 2, right? Because you proliferate, so I can't say that word, proliferate. So you deal them 2 poison counters, and who knows, maybe you could, if you are dealing with counters, +1/+1 counters, you can double them if you want, or put another one on there if you want, or on Planeswalkers. So I think it's going to be powerful. The thing is that I'm not sure where we will end up seeing this. I will try this out everywhere, even in Legacy. I'm going to try this. I don't think it will stick around in Legacy, if I'm being honest. I could see it sticking around in Modern. Maybe you have to change up the deck a bit, and I think this will be an all-star in Pioneer. In general, I'm going to try and build a green-white Pioneer build, because I think those colors have gotten the most potential. We'll go over why. Maybe I should discuss this. Toxic gets you a poison counter. However, I should note that Toxic is different from Infect in the sense that Toxic also actually deals combat damage. So not only can this deal poison counters, but it can also deal damage, and 4 damage each turn is big. So I think it's going to be good. I'm just not sure where it will stick. That's the main thing that I'm not concerned, but I just don't know. I really want this to be good, and we'll see where it ends up. Next one, Cankerbloom. So this one is a 3/2, and it has for 1, sack, destroy artifact, or enchantment, or proliferate. So this is not something crazy good. I just added this because we want artifact and enchantment removal. It costs 2, which is an upside because we want to get rid of Chalice of the Void. And you know, if it's a bad card, then you can just sack it to proliferate, and I do like that. Because it has like a random upside, and we've been seeing this a lot in this set where they just add proliferate to stuff that already exists. So I think this is going to be a potential sideboard card. I would never play this main, but I like it. I think it could see play everywhere. I'm not sure. I doubt it will see play in Legacy. It's probably a bit too slow for that, because we can play Force of Vigor over there, Seeds of Innocence. In Modern, maybe, because I do like a body. 3/2 is not bad. So I'm going to try it out, and let's see if it sticks. Next one, Tyvar's Stand, or Tyvar, I don't know. Interesting card. So a creature you can, no, just target creature you control gets +X/+X and hexproof and indestructible. Where X you have to pay for that. Interesting. The thing is, of course, it's not a pump spell on itself, but potentially it can be. If you draw this late game, it becomes better the later the game goes on. Early game, it's not that great, because if you have 1 green mana, it just says hexproof and indestructible. Now, with all the board wipes versus control decks, I could see the indestructible making a difference. I'm just not sure if this is going to be better than what we already have. That's the main thing. I'll probably try it out in Legacy, Modern, and Pioneer and see where it's good enough. I could see myself playing this card everywhere or in 0 formats. We'll see. It has to be tested. And then we have Venerated Rotpriest. I'm sure you've already heard of this card if you're watching this video. If not, this is probably going to be the best addition in Infect, in Legacy and Modern. I'm not sure if it's going to stick around in Pioneer. I have to be honest that I haven't played Pioneer ever. So I'm not sure how many removal spells are flying around in that format. If there are a lot of them, then this one will be good. If not, lesser so. So what it says is Toxic 1, and whenever a creature you control becomes the target of a spell, target opponent gets a poison counter. I should note that this means every spell, not just the one that your opponent plays, but the one that you play as well. In Modern and Legacy specifically, we really want to pump our Infect threats, which means that every time when we do the thing that we always want to do, which is pump our creatures, they will get an additional poison counter. That's strong. And if you want to destroy our creature, well, you're going to have to take a poison counter. So I think this is going to be very good. I've even been seeing in Legacy some other people trying to build around, not relying on Infect, but just making this work. I think it's going to be good, but again, we'll have to see which build really is the best one, because I think this is... It requires you to play a much more interactive game because you want to be able to fling around as many spells as you like. But of course, you don't want to trim down your deck to just this one and spells. So we'll have to run the numbers and see how many Rotpriests we want to run. Maybe 4 is a bit too much. I could see myself playing 2 maybe sideboard. I don't know, but I'm going to start with 3 to 4 in the main deck and see how we go from there. I've already played a couple of games with this in testing, and it was quite good. Not as nuts as I thought it would be, and I'm talking about Legacy specifically, but it was good, that's for sure. I'm just gonna see play everywhere. Legacy, Modern, and Pioneer, for sure. That was green. Now we're going to go to Bring the Ending. Instant, counter target spell unless its controller pays 2, or when you have Corrupted, and Corrupted means this only happens when you have 3 or more poison counters. You can counter that spell instead. So for 2 mana, one of which being colorless, you can just counter a spell. That's quite powerful. 2 mana is a thing, so I'm not sure if it's going to be good enough. Legacy, I don't think so. Modern, maybe, but 2 mana for our deck, it's a lot. And Pioneer, I doubt it, because... well, I want to stick to green-white in the beginning. I'm not sure if that's going to be where I end up, but I may try and make blue work if I'm going to try and play this card. I'm not sure. This card definitely has potential, but it being 2 mana is going to be a downside. So we will see if it's going to be good enough, but I'm skeptical. Distorted Curiosity. I think this is going to be a good one. So sorcery, it's basically Thoughtcast, but then for Infect. And what it says is you draw 2 cards, but usually you have to pay 3 mana. But if your opponent's corrupted, then you actually get to draw 2 cards for 1 blue mana. And that's really, really powerful. I've been trying this card already in Legacy, and it has been performing quite well. The thing here is that we already play Ponders and Brainstorms, and we will have to figure out just how many of these we actually want to play. Because you can't play too many cantrips. You want to still be able to kill your opponent, so we don't want to have too much air in our deck. So in Legacy, I think it's going to be good. I could see myself playing between 1 to 4 of this. Maybe cut down some Ponders. We'll see. Depends on the build, I think. In Modern, I think there's going to be a very... I'm going to try and play 4. I'm going to go heavily back into Simic. Maybe Bant with Skrelv, that's coming later. I like this card very much. In Pioneer, I'm not sure, because as I said, I want to try and build a green-white build in Pioneer, and this is blue, so I don't know. Maybe I should try 3 colors in Pioneer, but I'm not sure if that format can actually sustain 3 colors. It will have to be tested. If you have an idea about that, feel free to comment. Ichormoon Gauntlet. So, artifacts you control have 0 proliferate and -12 take next to turn after this one. And whenever you cast a non-creature spell, choose a counter on target permanent and put an additional counter of that kind on that permanent. So this may be a bit of a weird interaction. The only reason why I put this card on here is because I'm actually thinking about brewing a control-y build in Legacy specifically. And I could see myself just playing a bunch of Planeswalkers and maybe a couple of Infect threats. And as soon as you deal 1 Infect or 1 poison counter to your opponent, just start flinging those non-creature spells. And with your Planeswalkers, you can proliferate every single time. I don't know if this is going to be good enough, but it's interesting. I want to brew around with this, and that's why I wanted to show you. But I don't think in the builds that we have right now, this has a slot. Minor Misstep. A lot has been said about this card already. So counter target spell with mana value 1 or less. I really wish that it said when you paid 1 or less, because then we could counter the elementals with this. Unfortunately, that doesn't work. So this is interesting. I expect this to be the older the format, the better, because in Legacy you can counter all the most important stuff. Pyroblast, Hydroblast, Swords, Plowshares, Brainstorm, Ponder, etc, etc. So I think this will be good. I'm not sure if it's going to be good enough for main decks, maybe in the sideboard. I'm also not sure which decks actually want this. I don't expect Delver to want this. They have all the answers that they need. But I think it's going to be good in control decks, and for Infect specifically as well, because Infect generally has trouble with creatures, and this counters creatures and gives our creatures protection, because I think this is for our deck specifically in Legacy, just a better Spell Pierce. Because Spell Pierce gets worse in the late game, and this is just counters, doesn't matter what turn it is. Modern, maybe. We'll see, because in Modern specifically, Renin 6 is a big problem, so you want to have Spell Pierce. If Renin 6 would ever get banned, maybe I could see myself swapping to this. Unsure. And for Pioneer, I don't think so. Prologue to Phyresis. I'm going to be short about this one. I think it's not going to be good enough, but I have seen people tagging me in this card occasionally. For 2 mana, draw 1, and the opponent gets a poison counter. That's a bit too cute. Draw 1 is just not worth it. Even if it was 1 blue, I would have my doubts. So 2 blue, probably a bit too much, and I think this is true for any format. Jawbone Duelist, 1/1 double strike with Toxic 1. Interesting. I think this is going to be a difficult one to make it work, because I mean, it actually has Toxic 2, if that makes sense. But, you know, 2 mana is unfortunate. If this was 1 mana, that would be really good, but maybe a bit too powerful. It also doesn't have anything else, no evasion, etc. So I really want this in some kind of a control-y build, but I'm not sure if I want this in an aggro build. Like I said, I'm thinking about brewing a control deck in Legacy, and I could see this making the cut in there. I'm just not sure. We'll see. I just wanted to show you because I think it has potential. I'm just not sure in which shell we should play this. And here's one of my favorites, if not my favorite, number 1. Skrelv, Defector, Mite. 1/1, legendary artifact creature, Mite, Toxic 1. Can't block, who cares, that's irrelevant. And then for white mana or 2 life, you can tap, choose a color, another creature, so it can't target itself, not unimportant. You control gains Toxic 1 and Hexproof, and can't be blocked by creatures of that color this turn. This card is nuts. It does everything that we want, and it is something that I think Infect has been needing for a very long time. Only downside is that it is white, which makes sense because it's just Mother of Runes on steroids, but that could be an issue. I mean, if this was green or blue, it would be nonsense. It wouldn't fit the color pie, but yeah, regardless, I think it's going to be insane because we want to protect our creatures, and this is just, it does it every single time. I've tried Mother of Runes before, but it just felt a little bit short every single time, and I think this is what it needed to make it work. Because, for example, if you play this in Legacy, I am now brewing a build that plays fewer pump spells, but more protection in the form of Skrelv, and very often you get your opponent to like 9 Infect. For example, you Invigorate and then you Embiggen on a creature, that's 9 Infect. But I should note that Toxic and Infect actually scales, which means if you're able to just Embiggen and Invigorate a creature, slam in, and then you give it protection with Skrelv, you deal 9 Infect, and then you have Toxic 1, which is lethal because it does stack. Yeah, and the same is true for Modern. In Modern, it's more difficult to play Bant than it is in Legacy, so I'm not sure if I'm going to make it work over there. And in Pioneer, yeah, this is going to be an all-star. Definitely played there, I think. So, yeah, definitely going to try them out. You should buy them if you're playing Infect, for real. And this is strong. Definitely going to play Bant in Legacy to try and abuse this. And I've had some testing games where I had Skrelv versus Delver, and phew! Well, what can I say? My Delver opponents. If I have this one, I don't think I've lost a single game where I had Skrelv and an Infector in play. So that's interesting. Okay, next one. So we have Skrelv's Hive. Enchantment for 2 mana, basically the Bitter Blossom. We get a 1/1 colorless Phyrexian Mite artifact token with Toxic 1. Can't block at the beginning of our upkeep. And when you have corrupted, creatures you control have with Toxic have lifelink. This is nuts, because the downside of Bitter Blossom was that you lose life, and it will be a problem in the long run. But now they gain lifelink, so that is nullified. Downside of this one is that it doesn't have flying, but if these creatures had flying, it would be totally overpowered. I think this is going to be insanely good against control decks in Legacy and Modern, and they will have difficulties to dealing with this. The only thing that they have that's good against this is a Prismatic Ending. In Modern, maybe it's a Fairy. So, very good, but it is going to be a sideboard card. At least that's what I think. And a Pioneer, I'm probably going to try it out, see if it's good enough. Maybe a bit too slow there. I'm not sure, as I said. Pioneer, not really up my alley yet, but well, we're going to be able to go very low to the ground, so that could just be fast enough for that format. We will see. And then I just wanted to add one black card that I think is going to be good. Anoint with Affliction, exile target creature if it has mana value 3 or less for 2 mana. I mean, Petal Push is better than that. But when you have Corrupted, you get to exile that creature. That's very strong. Specifically for Black-Green Infect in Modern, I very much like this. Because, you know, Murktide is an issue. We have so many creatures that are difficult to deal with. And also the fact that it exiles, not just destroys, is powerful indeed. I wish it was one black, but maybe that would be too much. So I'm definitely going to try this out. Probably swap it around for a couple of Fatal Pushes or Abrupt Decays, etc. Quite powerful. I like this, and we'll see where we end up. So Slaughter Singer, I think this is the main reason to go green-white in Pioneer, because in Pioneer we have Toxic 2 for a green and a white, and you see whenever another creature you control with Toxic attacks, it gets +1/+1. 2 mana for a Toxic 2/2, that's already quite powerful, and pumping all of the Toxic creatures, this to me just pushes me heavily into green-white Toxic in Pioneer. I want to play as many 1-drops as I can, and this is a 2-drop with the Mite. Just flood the board with Toxic creatures and get in there. Maybe see if I can make some unblockable, etc. I think it's going to be powerful. It's not good enough for Modern or Legacy, let me just start by saying that. Then we're going to have to go over some lands. Seedcore. This is an interesting one. It's basically the reversed Pendelhaven. So add a color, spend it to cast Phyrexian creature spells. That's good. However, it only adds colorless. I wish it would add green. And then Corrupted, target 1/1, target creature with a 1/1 power gets +2/+1 instead of +1/+2. But you can only do that if the opponent is corrupted. I really want this to be good, but I've already cut Pendelhaven in Legacy. I'm playing one Pendelhaven in Modern, but I'm curious to see if I can make it work with this one. But not tapping for green is a downside. It has potential, for sure. I think it's strong, but we will see in which build it can actually flourish. And I'm not sure if I'm going to need this in Pioneer, but I guess I might just well play it because I expect that I'm only going to cast Phyrexian creatures in Pioneer, so I think that could be good. But then again, you're not playing Infect in Pioneer, so the +2/+1 might not be worth it. We'll see. We'll have to make it work. And then Mirrex. I just added this one here. I don't think it's that good. You can add 1 mana of any color, but only if it entered the battlefield this turn. Afterwards, it gives colorless. And for 3, you create a Mite with Toxic 1 and creature can't block. I see this in some kind of a control-y shell. It's good in the late game, but I don't know. I think this is not good enough, but its value, it does something, so I wanted to show it to you. Next, what we're going to do is I'm going to talk to you about the new Commander cards that have been spoiled, and I think 2 are going to be very interesting. I should note this is only for Legacy, because they are not legal in Modern or Pioneer. But I do think that 2 are going to be very good. For example, Phyresis Outbreak. For 3, each opponent gets a poison counter, and then each creature that your opponents control, so not the one that you control, get -1/-1 for each poison counter you have. This is very strong at every point in the game. In the early game, the opponent gets a poison counter. So even if they're not poisoned yet, you deal -1/-1 to everything. And in the late game, this is just clear the board every single time. Even if you have like a Murktide and your opponent has 8 poison counters, yeah, just get rid of it. It's so strong. But it's black. That's the downside. So we'll have to make it work somehow. There's going to be a build around. Maybe it's a kind of a blackish control deck. It's probably not worth it to go that route, though. We'll see. I like this one better, the last one. Norn's Decree. For 3 mana enchantment. And whenever 1 or more creatures an opponent controls deals damage to you, they get a poison counter. And whenever you attack your opponent, if they are poisoned, you draw a card. That's quite good. Drawing a card by just attacking, which is what you want to do anyway, is very powerful. And them attacking you getting a poison counter is also a very good effect. This is a card where if you get to the late game, if you bring them to like 8 or 9 poison counters, and you play this and it resolves, your opponent it's possible that they just can't win because they can't attack you. For example, against Delver, they need to find Brazen Borrower. And you're playing against Elves, for example, and you've put them to 9, they just can't win. Unless they have sideboard card like Abrupt Decay, stuff like that. I think this has potential. 3 mana is a bit steep for Infect, but if you just play this and you draw a bunch of cards out of it, that might also be good enough. So I'm going to try this one out. I don't think this will ever become a 4 of. I could see myself trying 1 or 2, maybe in the sideboard, maybe in the main. We'll see, but this one as well has potential. We'll just have to see how many we want to play and in which builds that would work. All right. If you have enjoyed this and you are a new viewer of my channel, this is me. I'm Sam, aka Fenruscloud. I always play Infect, and if you're interested in more, you can check out my Twitter or my Patreon, because I've been seeing an influx of a lot of new players since the spoilers of the new set, Phyrexia set, have been coming in. What I do there is I make specific Infect content, and I want to tell you that I'm also going to start making Pioneer content once the new set has hit. So if you like that, feel free to check the description. I'll put all the links in there. If you want to hear about my performances, about how I do in tournaments, etc., I post all those things on Twitter as well. So check it out if you're interested. That was it for now. If you have any questions, you can always spam them in response. I try and respond to each and any comment that I get. And feel free to ask me anything. Thanks for watching. Bye.